Aloha gang, happy Aloha Friday, and dogs got their treats. We should be good for a couple minutes as this one just holds her treat and says, hey, look how pretty I am. I can play with the treat in my, oh no, you're not sitting in my lap. No, you're not sitting in my lap, little girl. No, no, no. And, oh my gosh, never, what? You want to show everyone your treat? Show everyone your treat, Cassie? No, you want to get on the ground so later on you can go show it off to all the other dogs. And then she'll come back and be like, okay, now I'm ready. Put me in my stroller. Yep, see, all ready back for the stroller. Okay. Oh my gosh. It's the same. Every time I start a live, this is exactly what I have to go through every single time. So hello, little girl. Enjoy yourself. Yes. So here we go. I came across this article yesterday, actually, about Geanna. And let's see, get the news out. Okay, get all the notifications out. You want to come here, baby girl? Okay, you can sit in my arms. How's that? You can sit in, no, you want to be the one in charge. So you're going to sit back there. Something, who knows where she's going to be. Hello, Sleuth. Hello, Click and Go. We got two of you guys. Hey, Jim, how are you doing, my dear? Actually, let's do some real hellos. Hello, Click and Go. What is you today? What's up with you? Are you looking at yourself in the mirror? It can't. She's looking at herself on my computer screen. So, and also, oh my God, they are a headache at times in my life. She wants to sit in my lap, is what she wants. And I'm like, I don't know if I want you in my lap right now. Okay, there, you're in my lap. So, and there's Sleuth Mom. How you doing, my dear? I have been sending Sleuth messages today about this because I've been following Geanna's case since it started. And now we're starting to be able to fill in the pukas, the holes, as we call them in Hawaii, the pukas. And boy, it's crazy. Yes, that's it exactly, Jenny. Okay, she wants attention. Now she's on the ground. So I'm like, that's good, because it's when you're wearing pants and the dog wants to stay in your lap, it's not easy to pull off. So, but hello, Miss Jenny. Hope you're doing good. And but let me check. I got a couple of you guys in here, and I know I've got a lot of new people who've been joining the channel the last few weeks. And some of you, okay, who come and watch a couple, and then you find other cases to follow and all. How many? Put a 1 in chat if you know about Geanna. Put a 2 in chat if Geanna's case is a case you haven't heard anything about. Because a lot of us who've been talking here, we talk about Geanna, okay, quite often, along with Ariel behind me. But we're kind of in this holding pattern, waiting for trial to start. So a lot of people aren't getting new information. And however, Geanna is a 10-year-old who here in Hawaii, back in February, we thought, Jenny, you are too. I was thinking you were too. That's why I wanted to make sure to ask, because I wasn't sure if you had gotten this story or not. There's Cat Mama, one because of me. Yeah, there you go. Okay, either me covering it. I know Sleuth has talked about it a couple times. Unfortunately, the reason why she's been so important to me, and actually I'm going to pull up all these pictures of her, is because she's from Hawaii. What I did not realize is she's from not only Hawaii, but Texas. I've got family in Texas. So it's like she's wormed her way into my heart. So long story short, and we're going to go over this article that kind of fills in all the pukas. However, in February, there was a report of a 10-year-old who her foster family, her legal guardians, had called 911 because the 10-year-old was dead. They woke up in the morning, 10-year-old was dead. Police showed up, AED, so they could do the shock her heart and all that stuff. And unfortunately, she did not survive. Well, very quickly, upon finding her, police started realizing something's wrong here. This girl was emaciated. She was not being fed. She was being starved. She had bruises on her body. Okay, and just her school picture up in the middle right over here. Okay, you can almost see some of these bruises. So police immediately went into investigation mode on this and took out of the house, okay, not only the foster parents' biological children, but another child that had been adopted by them and all. And in fact, that little boy ended up in the hospital. His injuries were so bad from maltreatment that they had to put him into the hospital to stabilize him. And so, couple couple weeks later, as they're investigating, and no one in Hawaii knows this is all going on at the time. Hey, Seal, how you doing, my dear? They discover, you know what? This family, the Blasses, and Geron, who is Brandy Blas's mom, happened to have been abusing little Gianna. And they brought them up on multiple charges. Okay, everything from second-degree murder to kidnapping to, okay, also whole litany of charges. And they are currently, all three of them, in jail awaiting sentencing. One thing that did come up today, and I'll address this a little later, as I was trying to get an update on the case today, I found out that Brandy Blas, the foster mother or the adopted mother, okay, foster more or less in this case, actually was trying to get bail again today. She filed today for bail again. And we will see what happens from that. I did get access to the documentation on that and try to find out what they're wanting. They're wanting them to give her um, parole, not parole, but they want her to be out, okay, with electronic surveillance, all that. $100,000 bail, no more, no more than 100,000 for two children, one who's died and the other one who's been hurt. Okay, and is not, will probably be beyond, from what it's sounding like, okay, is not at the age and not hitting all of their goals that they should be getting at that age. And all. So yeah, Seal, seriously. I'll try to pull it up at the end and read it at the end. But it is so frustrating, gang. So frustrating. So this here is, okay, a bunch of different pictures of little Gianna. Gianna spent most of her years in the system. Okay, we're going to hear a little bit from her dad and her auntie. So mostly her paternal side of the family in this article. However, I can tell you her mom and her dad both love her and are having to deal with mourning the loss of their daughter. I've spoken with both of them, and both of them are trying to come to terms with all of this. She was with them for a certain amount of time before she was taken away from both of them. Okay, it turns out now there was a family member who was willing to adopt Gianna. Her father actually signed off, okay, signed all of his rights away just to allow this family member to adopt. And then something happened which stopped that in its tracks. Okay, another family member wanted to have custody of her at least. And she was told, well, you don't live in Hawaii, so you cannot, okay, have custody. So a lot of different, and that's something we're actually hearing more and more of, that I never really put that together when I started covering the missing and children at the foster care system and stuff like that. But there's a lot of children who family want to adopt. There's family, blood family who want to adopt, but because they're not in the same state, it gets held against them and they have to move to that state to be able to make that work. And not all families can do that. They have jobs. They have other reasons why they can't just pick up and move to a new location. And also a lot of different things popping up through this case that need to be changed and hopefully. Yeah, see, I don't get why And it's frustrating as we go through this article, okay, that I'm going to pull up and we're going to start in a second. It makes no sense. The whys, I can't find an answer to any of these whys. Okay, maybe there's something there that I'm not privy to, because unfortunately, the problem is this: 9.9% of 99.99% of the time, you've got the system, okay, or the government saying, well, we can't release information because of confidentiality, even though the person is no longer with us. So we don't get the full answers. And the problem is we keep having children losing their life. I had Ariel. Now we have, okay, well, we had Ariel. Then we had this. We have another case. We have over and over. Name them out from your own state. Hello, 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 Chicken Lady. And thank you, by the way, guys, if you didn't get to go watch, Chicken Lady brought Keiki out and got us, gave us, gosh, almost like an 8-minute video. It was a really good video. Okay, letting us get to meet Keiki. And for those of you who don't know, when she asked me to name this baby chick, it was like, okay, what do we do? Okay, name, local, my, whatever, and all. And I just, in honor of the kids that we talk about all the time, that's how Keiki Okalani, child of the heavens and a heavenly child. So that's what Keiki is named after. So let's go ahead here and let's start. How can the system be fixed if we don't know the whole story? And that's the problem right there. That is the problem that needs to be solved. We need to stop hiding behind confidentiality. I'm sorry, but we got to stop hiding behind confidentiality when, especially in the case where the person is no longer even alive. Okay, you can go through a system. Hey, PJ, how you doing, my dear? Mwah. Love you, my dear. Okay, you can literally go through and say, okay, we're going to release this person's records, or a couple that we're going to keep redacted because of confidentiality at a level that might hurt someone else or something like that. But it makes no sense for all of this documentation to be being kept secret, and no one's able to go in there and find out why the system continues to fail over and over and over. And hello, Oscar, my dear. Love you, love you, love you. And so let's start going through this. Okay, so from Hawaii to Texas and back. Now, this is written by John Hill and Madeline Valera. John is an amazing, amazing reporter when it comes. He's very involved in standing up for children, looking at what needs to be done with within our local government here in Hawaii. He uses his voice to bring attention to what needs to be brought. Okay. And he really has gone above and beyond to get the word out about things. So he's done a great job. So we're going to actually read through this and stop at times. I'm keeping Geanna's picture right up here at the top so we don't forget who we are talking about. PJ is saying, my CPS record only has my mom's info and brother's info redacted. I only can see what involves mine. See, so there's no reason why. I mean, these blanket confidentiality things, especially in a case where a child loses their life. Okay, someone needs to, and I'm not saying necessarily it has to be per se all of the public, even though, yeah, I'd love to see everything. But I think we need to start looking at how can we have real investigations done by a third party, okay, that is there to speak up for the child. Okay, in long-term care, we have the ombudsman program. Okay, a secondary program where when there is a potential abuse case or something like that, they can step in and they can investigate, and they have access to all of that stuff. Why the hell do we not have that happening at this point? And all. So here we go. It was October 2017. Now, realizing Geanna was alive until this past February. Okay. Actually January, I think it is now that I think about it, but this year. Okay. So this is 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was October 2017, and Ivy Hauck was learning the ways of the 3-year-old she planned to adopt. Bingo, bingo, exactly, right there, Seal. 5 months earlier, so probably about Mayish, Hawk had welcomed the girl, Geanna Bradley, to the spacious brick house on a cul-de-sac in the suburb of Houston that she shared with her husband and 3 other girls. So, just so you know, Hawk, who we're going to learn, is actually Gianna's auntie, okay, biological aunt. She is a nurse practitioner. Okay, she had 2 biological daughters, and 1 stepdaughter. All of them lived happily in this house, and they decided they wanted to adopt Geanna because of the situation she was currently in, involving her father, okay, being in jail at the time, and wanting to ensure that the best possible situation was what they were making sure Geanna was able to live with. Um, PJ, yes. Weirdly, you have to get the offender's permission, and your brother was also a minor at the time to get it unredacted. Wow. Just wanted to get, okay. See, and that's the problem. You know what? Yes, I get it. Everyone deserves some level of confidentiality. But when it comes down to a child's safety, and yes, Gianna's gone. We can't change that. Gianna's gone. But her story can help protect another child. PJ, your story and all is able to help look and not only bring closure for you guys, but be able to, if you were in the case of the system, you could actually help protect others in the future. Hello, JP. How you doing? Love you. Love you. And Miss Lioness is here too. Hello, Lioness. So Geanna was her niece, the daughter of her brother, Gerime Bradley. Gerime lived in Honolulu and had been jailed for a probation violation. I think that's one thing to realize, because a lot of times when we hear about these cases, you're hearing about people with massive felonies and stuff like that. And I'm not saying, crime is crime is crime. When you make a mistake, you got to pay your due and all that. But you're going to hear from here. He was in jail due to a probation violation. What did he do? He stole a moped. He had stolen a moped, was on probation due to that, violated his probation, and because of that, he ended up in jail. If you go back to Ariel's case, Ariel's father was in jail at the time. So I'm starting to also see a pattern here. When we have parents in prison, we're starting to have, okay, of course, CPS needs to be involved because they need to make sure the child's safe in the meantime. But we're realizing cases where parents are losing their rights during that time. Moving to, no, sorry, my mom just came in. Sorry, my mom's doing washing, and I guess our washing machine is leaking, so she just turned it off. So I love it. I had a feeling that's what was happening. And also, yeah, let's get back to this. So, hey guys, hush. The siblings had discussed the possibility of Hawk adopting Geanna. Gerime was reluctant at first to give up his daughter, but believed it would be far better than Gianna's foster care placement with a couple in Wahiwa. So he agreed. So as soon as, okay, Geanna had been taken away, and they do go into this, from both biological mom and dad, and was put into placement actually with the Blasses, who in the end are the ones who have allegedly were the ones behind her death. And also they were there she was there that whole time. As dad, he had to make that decision. Do I want my child to stay here in Hawaii and be part of this foster care system, or do I just go ahead and give up my rights to my daughter, knowing that my sister can now adopt her and she can move out of state, and they were able to make that work in this case. So Hauck found the girl to be remarkably loving and sweet. Geanna called her mommy almost immediately with no prompting and couldn't get enough snuggling or hugging. So, mom, um, Oluwatoyin. I'm not sure about the second half of it, but definitely Oluwatoyin. That's a different name. I'm not even sure. Is that local? The Olu part I could see being local. I could see that being more Polynesian. The rest of it I'm not too sure on. By the way, hello Sleuth. And PJ, thank you for the super chat, my dear. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my dear. And yep, we all need to stand together, reform CPS. We had the thing for Oakley the other day. Okay, we've got things we're trying to do here in Hawaii. Every one of us has stuff that we need to look at for our own state. And so, yep, you got it, PJ, 150% right there. And thank you. So, by the way, I love this picture. At first, I was like, what's going on here? This is full force, okay, Geanna's personality here. That's what you're seeing here is a little girl's personality. She's got her sunglasses cockeyed. She's sitting here, okay, doing all this fun little stuff there. Really kind of cute there. You can see her personality there. But after so she moved to Texas so that her auntie could actually adopt her. However, after the first month in Texas, the girl that they called Gigi, and I know, in fact, her dad calls her Gigi and all, started to have violent tantrums. She was kicking, spitting, hitting her own head. This is something later on we heard more of when she lost her life. Hello, my dear. Love you. Bye. I hope you're having a good one. By the way, that was cool. Antarctica was cool. And also, when she was with the Blasses, we started hearing again about these tantrums. And initially, we weren't sure how to take it. But the one thing I'm noticing is these tantrums seem to be something that had been going on most of her life. As we read this, oh, frick, Seal, I hate you. Not you, I hate Sleuth. Wait, are you playing Oluwatoyin? Are you playing with me, girl? Are you? See, I don't know with Sleuth because Sleuth knows I know how to pronounce local names out here in Hawaii. So I help her all the time try to figure out how to pronounce a word. And if you bad girl, if you're doing that to me, bad girl. So anyhow, we will find out if it was real later on or not. So, but yeah, we started hearing regularly that she was having these behavioral issues when she was with the Blasses. So it looks like she was also having these behavior issues with her auntie. And it looks like there may have even been behavior issues before she went to her auntie's as we read further on. So let me ask you guys in chat, if you have a young child with behavior issues, what's the first thing that's going to go through your head? Most kids don't just develop behavior issues without there's something behind that. Okay, now it could be something as easy as just adjustment issues. This little one had a lot to adjust with during her life. She was pulled away from mom and dad, then she was put in with the Blasses, then she left the Blasses and went over to Texas. And then from there, we're going to find out she is pulled out and actually taken, brought back to Hawaii. Okay, so there's a lot of adjustments. So it could be adjustment. Yeah, you have to find the root for that. That's the first thing a parent who really cares, an adult who cares, is going to want to look at. And that's exactly what her auntie did. Her auntie, again, nurse practitioner. She wants to know what's this root cause. There's going to be a root cause here. Okay, but she was try to get them the resources. Yeah, find out how to help them. And she was kicking, she was spitting, hitting her own head. She was seeing a counselor. So it looks like what it sounds to me like is that when she was pulled out of Hawaii and sent to Texas, CPS in Texas, Child Protective Services, took on the case. It's like, okay, we're going to transfer her from Hawaii system, the system in Hawaii, CPS in Hawaii, to Texas CPS. Okay. And while they were there, Texas CPS probably said, okay, fine, we're going to pay to have her see a therapist, try to find out what was happening. And yeah, finding out when did those start? When did these behavior issues start becomes very important. And if you're part of the CPS program, you should be able to know that. You should be able to realize, when are these behavior issues starting? Okay, did they come from earlier times before she was taken away from her parents? Her parents say no, this was all new. Okay, did it happen when she was with the Blosses? Okay, when did it? Okay, you find out more and more about this as time goes on. So she was seeing a counselor, but her auntie was like, she's not getting anywhere with this. They're doing the same old all the time. We're not getting to the root of this. And we really need to get to the root of this. Okay. Also, she was probably at the age when she would have been looking at school. So they wanted to get her in to not only figure out the root cause of the tantrums, but get an educational assessment done. You're going to hear in a few seconds the reason why. She's an extremely smart child, but she didn't know a lot of different things that she should have known. And all. So Auntie, what we got from JP here. Double question. Was she happy in Texas? Was she happy in Hawaii? Great questions. Great questions to both of those. And anyone who is working with that child should be able to answer those questions. Okay, how were they adjusting? That's part of the reason why you have the system involved, is when things like this happen, to ensure the child is adjusting. Okay, that's why you have social workers involved. Okay, or people who are trained involved. Okay, they only use best interests of the child when the cash flow is involved. They're pretty selective when it comes to, and you know what, my concern is that's what happened here in Texas. I'll let you tell me what you guys think about that later. Okay, after you hear the whole story. So she contacted Child Protective Services in Texas and said, you know what, I really would like her to see a psychiatrist and get this educational assessment. And as soon as we could get that, that'd be nice. Soon after, within days, basically, okay, of calling and asking for that, her aunt received a call from the Honolulu caseworker for Geanna. She does say this Hawaii caseworker seemed a little bit more involved than Texas really did, in all honesty. But she said, I don't know what just happened. Hauck recalls the caseworker saying, but Texas has now just told us we have 72 hours to get Geanna back to Hawaii. What the hell? Why would CPS in a state all of a sudden say 72 hours, she's gone, get her back to Hawaii? Something's happened there. We don't know what it is. Sorry, I'm going to put the dog on the ground. We don't know what that is. Okay. Is it truly kind of going along with what JP was saying there? Was it the fact that they did not like the idea of having to pay for a psychiatrist to visit? Was it that easy? I have not heard about any complaints where they were investigating the aunt's house. Remember, there were 3 other girls in that house. So I would think that if it was something that was behavior wise, or it wasn't a safe place for her or anything like that, first of all, Texas would have had to go in there and assess everything first before saying, okay, yeah, no, this is not the place for you. We need to move you back to Hawaii. to just drop that, not even tell the aunt, but to call up Hawaii and say, you're taking her back and you got 3 days to get her back. Something else is going on there. I don't want to say it's financial, but a huge part of me can't seem to get away from that right now. But there are other possibilities. All of us know there are other potentials there too. Hauck said she was devastated when she heard that. Hauck couldn't have known it, but the removal then set in motion a series of events that led to Geanna's death 6 years later, allegedly at the hands of those legal guardians in Wahiawa. Sorry, yeah, she was originally JP from Hawaii, and family, her dad's side of the family is from the mainland, but he lived in Hawaii at the time. So she started with Hawaii, was sent to Texas. Texas sent her back to Hawaii, where she spent the rest of her life until she died 6 years later. Gianna's death in January would become one of the most notorious cases of child abuse in recent Hawaii history, raising questions once again about Hawaii's child welfare system and its actions in placing and overseeing a child in foster care. And the family says there were signs years before Gianna's death that the Blases were mistreating Geanna, though the state denies hearing anything about that. And this is the reason why release of records is so important. Ariel's family has been asking for the release of records. Okay, because same with Ariel. She was in the system. Okay, people were reporting. They were saying we were reporting that we were seeing things that was not right. And no one was looking at her. No one was investigating it. Well, we need to see that. We need to see the records. Okay, if the state is going to, if Child Protective Services is going to say they did everything they could have, we need to see what they did so that it actually can be looked at. JP, yes, I know, and this does go into that a little bit. Dad had actually stolen a moped. He had, stole a moped, had been put on probation for that. And then he violated his probation, which landed him in jail. And that's what set off the rest of everything. Okay, so an early warning. So Hauck got the call that Geanna would have to return to Hawaii on a Thursday. She tried to make the best of her niece's last days in Texas, which happened to be just before her 4th birthday. So this is a 4-year-old, barely 4 years old. Okay, all this is happening when she's 2.5 to 3 years old. Okay, she bought her a Cinderella costume, complete with a scepter, took her to the pumpkin patch, which you can see this picture right here of her being taken to the pumpkin patch, because that was right before Halloween. Hey, Canine, love you, my dear. Love you and welcome. At least Hauck thought she's going back to people she knows. Okay, Auntie knew that the Blases took care of, Geanna before she came to live with them. So it's like sending her back to the same house that she was at before. So, okay, it's got to be good. She had talked with the Blases before a few times. So she felt like, okay, at least things are good. Okay. Before flying to Texas, Geanna had been placed with foster parents in Wahiawa, Thomas and Brandy Blas, and they had agreed to take her back when she was returned. When Gerime dad found out, he was speechless. He knew it probably meant that he would not see his daughter again. The reason for this is, remember, for his sister to be able to adopt his daughter, he had to sign away his rights. He signed away his rights with only one thought in the back of his mind, that his daughter would be able to be adopted by his sister. If he hadn't known that, if he had known what was going to happen there, he never would have signed away those rights. But he had done it because he thought, and everything was leaning towards, okay, that's great. My daughter's in Texas. She's okay with the family. Everyone's happy. Okay, I feel comfortable doing this. Okay, it's for the best. I want what is best for my daughter, and this is what is best. And now he has no right to Gigi at all because of that, which is, yeah, Seal, that's the oh no bit. Um, it's something that we find out, okay, even when a father is, and I've heard of another case where a father was in jail and was pretty much tricked into saying, well, you're in jail, you have to sign away your rights because you can't be, okay, you can't have rights to your child if you're in prison. And that person signed away his rights also. And so there's a lot of this happening. Um, Adopting has never been the result of rights litigation. Okay. And but that, yeah, it's, this poor little girl lost her life over a series of unfortunate things happening. And P.S. Stop it. Okay. Um, he was also worried about the Blosses. About a year earlier, he said, on his last visit with her at a play area, and we showed that video. His last time that he was with, okay, Geanna, he took her to a playground, and there's actually video that he had posted way, way back of him taking his little girl to the playground. During that visit, some things were said. Now, he was not alone on that visit with Geanna. Catholic Charities works with CPS out here. And there was someone from that organization there that, from what my understanding is, actually overheard a lot of what was said during this. Okay, now that's allegedly. That's allegedly from what I'm hearing from some different people. But I could see that happening totally. So basically, what happened while he was playing with Geanna, she blurted out that Brandy Blas, her foster mom at the time, this was before going to Auntie's, okay, had beaten her. Bradley then turned to the Catholic Charities caseworker who was supervising the visit and asked if he had heard what Geanna said. He said he did hear it. He heard Geanna say that Brandy Blas had beaten her. And they then went and pushed further to try to figure out what happened. Bradley said he turned to, okay, he said he repeated, she beat you? Bradley recalls. The girl said yes, because she had peed in the car. Now remember that, because later on we also find out that some of her tantrums came around times that she would have an accident, which I found interesting. That was not connected in this article, but I caught it when I was reading it. Bradley said he told the Child Welfare Services caseworker overseeing the case what Geanna had reported to him. Quote, she did everything she could to try to convince me not to file a report, he said. She said she'd known the family a long time, never heard of any problems. You know, kids make stuff up all the time, Bradley recalls the caseworker saying. Okay, and that becomes the problem. If you hear something, you go through. Never just, because the problem is now there is no documentation of that. There's no video documentation of this. There's no, it's a he said, she said at this point. Okay, JP, hence why most children return to a bad environment is because the investigators did a careless investigation. Yeah. If you have to investigate these things, it takes a lot of work. It takes a hell of a lot of work to investigate a complaint. I know. I do them in long-term care, but they're important because even if it turns out to be nothing, you learn something from doing the investigation. Okay, I have never done an investigation in my life where I did not learn something that wouldn't help me in improving quality of care. And so the fact that it's like, oh, well, you know, you don't need to report it. Okay, I've heard, and we were told this over and over with Ariel's case. Oh, they know the family. The family's, well, you know what? There's a lot of families that look good from the outside, but what happens behind closed doors is different. And in this case, we know with the Blasses, their own children were not being abused in the classic way of training it, teaching. Okay, they were not being physically hit or emotionally or anything like that. Okay, yes, okay, and witnessing another child being abused, in my eyes, they were abused. What is wrong with these people who have issue with a child's kidney function? Oh God, yeah, yeah, exactly. Common CPS too much. Yeah, you know what? I do want to give them the okay. I think a lot of it is the fact that a lot of times they are overworked. I do strongly believe that, gang. Don't get me wrong. Many I've known caseworkers who are amazing. They're working so hard, and they only have so many hours in the day. And that's part of the problem, where they don't have enough caseworkers to help ensure quality surveillance is being done, okay, quality care being done, things like that. And you have to help and train. Yeah, you do have to do all that. So, um, she said she'd have to move if they reported this, okay, that she had been beaten after having an accident in the car. Quote, she said she'd have to move Gianna, and who knows, it could happen again. Okay, so you start hearing this. The caseworker, Debra Yoshizumi, who retired soon after Gianna returned to Hawaii from Texas, declined to comment for the story, citing CWS's strict rules about confidentiality in child welfare cases. Guys, I've literally, Sleuth knows this. I don't know if she's still listening. I truly would like to become a CASA. Okay, I advertise it here in chat all the time. I am scared to death. If I become a CASA, it's going to be like you can't even speak anything that is connected. I know confidentiality. Being a long term care administrator, I understand confidentiality. But confidentiality does not necessarily pertain, it is not the same as speaking up against systems that may be failing. You can hold confidentiality, okay, and still work to better programs. That can be done. At least I feel it can. Okay, I might be wrong, and if you'd like to prove me wrong, please, I'm open to listening to it. Bradley concluded that the caseworker never made a report because Gianna stayed with the Blasses and returned to them after the 5 months that she was in Texas. His mother, so Gigi's grandmother, Ivy Bradley, recalls Gerime calling her in tears at the time to tell her about what Gianna had said. So at least there is that secondary person who heard all this. The Department of Human Resources would not comment in detail about the accounts of Gianna's biological family, but the department said it never received a report of abuse or neglect about the Blasses before the death in January. Nor were there any reports of abuse or neglect of Gianna by anyone after the Blasses became her legal guardians in 2018. First of all, hello, Miss Joy. And canine caseworkers are only getting a snapshot of what goes on at a household. Yes, and that's what's important to recognize too. They can only make decisions based off of what they're seeing. That's why it's so important for them to see everything that's going on. It's easy for a caregiver in charge to put on a show for an hour. Exactly, very much. And I think that's what happened very often in this case. Plus, with the fact that these other children were in good shape and all that, they probably did not think, oh, well, how can these kids be okay, but she not, or the other baby not? Okay. So, how could no one notice, though? After Gianna's return from Texas, she spent 6 more years with the Blasses until she died of starvation and abuse at the age of 10. The Blasses and Brandy's mom, Debra Geron, faced second-degree murder charges. And like I just said, Brandy is asking for bail again. For Gerime Bradley, Ivy Hauck, and their extended families in Texas, Louisiana, and Hawaii, many of whom had offered to take Gianna. The details of her abuse have been almost unbearable to hear. Hauck said she's been in counseling, struggling with feelings of guilt. I can't even picture what that would be like, knowing that she was this close to adopting this baby and she was taken away from her. Okay, and why, we don't know. Was it truly just because Texas CPS did not want to pay for a psychiatrist? And they got worried maybe that someone was being would be too hard to handle or was too difficult of a case or something like that. So just send her back to Hawaii. It's so hard to look at these things, and my heart goes out to those who are trying to be there for her. Was there more that could be done? Bradley said he only found out about his daughter's death 3 weeks after it happened, when Honolulu detectives came to question him as if he might have had something to do with it, which I I suspect CWS here was like, well, he's not dad anymore. He gave away his rights. So they didn't, when this little baby is found dead, they didn't even consider, oh, maybe we should call his biological dad and let him know that his little girl has been killed. Instead, dad finds out when police show up at the door to question him. Find out, and yes, the police have to question. They need the full story. They need to know what happened over all these years. And police were doing their job that way. But it astounds me that no one gave him a call after she was found dead to say, you know what? I know you gave rights up to her, but she's no longer with us. Okay, it's kind of like when they were all fighting over, okay, who has the right to her body? Is it CPS? Is it the foster family? Is it the parents? Whatever. Okay, no one knew how to contact people. People weren't getting phone calls back initially. It took a couple times. Okay, she was killed by her foster parents. She was, well, allegedly killed by her foster parents. And there is a whole live where I actually read the full complaint, which we can definitely go. This case is really confused. There's a lot of moving pieces to this. So, okay. Let's see. Only after he was interviewed by the police with all the questions and then finally told him, oh, no, no, yeah, no. What do you mean? You don't know she's gone. She's gone. She died. Okay, and we're investigating her murder, actually. We're trying to decide if this is murder versus, okay, manslaughter versus accident or whatever. Only afterwards did they tell him she was dead. He said he couldn't sleep or talk about it without crying for a week. Duh. And now he's left only with questions. Did no one notice? Not a single doctor, no teachers, no therapists noticed that Gianna was not okay. She was seeing a therapist because of her behavior issues. Why did they not realize something was going on? Bruises, malnourishment to the point where she died from being starved. She was tortured. I mean, if we get far enough through this and you guys want me to go through the actual complaint, I'll go through the complaint again because people need to know the truth about what happened to this baby. You can't tell me that for 7 years there was no sign of anything wrong with my child, he said. This narrative of the events leading up to Gianna's return to Hawaii and placement with the Blases is based on interviews with Bradley, Hauck, and their mother, Ivy Bradley, who lives in Lake Charles, Louisiana, but closely followed what was happening to her granddaughter and says she had a bad feeling about her placement with the Blases. Their accounts could not be independently verified because family court records regarding child welfare cases are considered confidential, and officials involved say they are bound by law not to speak about them. So there's no way of verifying anything because the state refuses anyone to be able to verify anything. Okay, state intervenes. Gianna, okay, so now we're going to go back to when she was born. Gianna was the daughter of Bradley and Amy Hart, who did not respond to requests to be interviewed for this story. I can tell you she's going through the same thing her dad is right now. Okay, the loss of her daughter, having to bury her daughter, okay, all of those things. It's a nightmare for both of these parents. Bradley was in his early 40s when Gianna was born, Hart in her early 30s. According to Bradley, the family's involvement with the child welfare system began in 2015. Bradley and Hart were no longer a couple, but they were sharing a large house not far from Bishop Museum. Bishop Museum is in kind of right off of the downtown area, somewhere between downtown and the airport, but it's town. It's town. Yeah, Mr. Blas never let her speak. Yep, you got it. You get so angry when I think about what was done. Oh, yeah, what was done to her is just the text messages that went back and forth between these adults. Okay, conspiring about ways that they could torture this little girl. Okay, it's nuts. So after an incident involving Hart's newborn son, CWS got involved, Bradley said. The state, okay, knew that she had a daughter, and 6 days later, they came and took Gianna. Okay, my, from what I've seen in the past, okay, I know mom did have some issues, okay, and she's clean now, but at that time, that was involved in everything going on. So this little girl is taken away from mom and dad and put into the system. Okay. She loved to play, she loved to sing, she loved to dance. She had a character like no one else's. And we've seen that in the videos when her dad sang the daughter song to her. Oh my God, it was so sweet. Bradley said he visited her and took steps to get her back. And I know mom took a lot of steps too later on once she was able to clean up her life and all. Bradley said he visited. Okay, there was always some catch when it came to trying to get her back. He said he passed a home inspection, okay, but then was told that Gianna was having behavioral problems that needed to be addressed before he got her back. Now, this is where I start trying to connect things. I'm taking this from reading this and I don't have it verified yet, but it does seem to follow the story order, that this inspection and stuff happened before she was sent to Texas. Because again, if he was trying to get her back, it would make sense that he was doing that before he signed away the rights. So it does make sense that that would have been happening right after custody was taken away and stuff like that. And she was initially put with the Blasses the first time. He said he agreed to be evaluated by a counselor himself, but the evaluation kept getting delayed. And when it was finally completed, it somehow was never considered by the court. And that's something I've heard before also. Let me just check what's it could be JP, it could be. You never know, especially with Hawaii. It's a little, all of us are in the minority here in Hawaii, so it's a different kind of situation there. Yeah, Sleuth Mom is back. Be ready for her to play games with how to pronounce words and stuff like that. So that sounds like a therapist who needs reporting to licensure board if a name is, and we do know some of these. Yes, we do know them. Makes me wonder how many cases are out there. That's the problem, JP, because we know about one other little one who had family members who wanted to take her. So this is not the only case. Here's two cases where both children lost their life. I don't want that to become a third case or a fourth case or a fifth case. Sleuth Mom, I love you, love you, love you, my dear. Who got the gift membership? Cat Mama got the gift membership. Cat Mama, say thank you to Sleuth Mom for me. And I'm going to say thank you also. Welcome to the Ohana. And thank you so much, Sleuth Mom. And Um, he said okay, so that's what I keep hearing regularly. Suitcase Kid Sleuth has an update on that. We did it over on her channel Wednesday. Um, he had been put on probation in 2013 for stealing a moped. Shortly after his last visit with Geanna, the visit where he said she had reported being beaten by Brandy Blas, I messed up on probation and I went to jail. So he was trying to get her back, and all this happened. He ended up in jail, and that's why I'm saying it's just been one nightmare after another that led to this place. Worried about Geanna, once he got into jail, he called his sister in Texas, and they finally agreed that he would give up his parental rights so that Hauck could adopt the girl. At that point, she had been with the Blasses for about a year. So during that year, we hear about things such as behavior issues and things like that. Now, the question is, when did these behavior start? Did she come to them with these behavior issues, or did they start while she was there? Hauck started meeting with her on video. In May 2017, she and her husband came to Hawaii to get her. So you can see there was a really good thing, and I do have to give this to the CPS case, because even, the auntie said the Hawaii caseworker seemed to care more about the case in all reality than the Texas caseworker. And it looks like they did this well. It's like, let's have them talking on the phone, video chatting and stuff like that. Then we'll set up the next step, then the next step, and then move forward. Geanna arrived to a 4-bedroom house in a Houston suburb that Hauck shared with her husband, 2 daughters, and a stepdaughter. Geanna shared a room with a bunk bed with the youngest girl. The caseworker in Hawaii told Hauck that, and I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. If I'm not, I truly apologize. The caseworker in Hawaii, and this is why I'm worried and why I'm like, wait, why wasn't family being told about this? Where was the communication about this one paragraph? Where was the investigation about this one paragraph? The caseworker in Hawaii told Hauck that Geanna had shown signs of abuse and possible essay. But Hauck didn't know the details. Now, that's the first thing. If you are hearing from a caseworker that a child who's in the system has had some potential of abuse, potential, abuse, the first thing you're going to want to know is the details, yeah? Okay, you would think that they'd tell you the details so you can actually parent in the correct way, right? So there's none of that happening here. Okay, there's no discussion about any investigation. Was this something? Why did they feel she had this? Is this coming from the moment she was taken from one family to the other? Or is this something that developed during that 1 year that she was there? We don't know. And that's what is so upsetting to me, because she'd been with the Blasses for a year. Okay, and could that have been, now, as she says here, I wasn't thinking the foster parents. I had no clue where the abuse actually came from. But again, we're told that she had behavior issues. Okay, her dad said that she complained that she was beaten when she accidentally had an accident in the car. Okay, all these things you start looking at and you start trying to look at the red flags, connect things. But again, we can't connect things if we don't have records to look at. And that's the problem here. At first, Geanna showed no signs that she'd been through anything traumatic. She sang all the time and seemed to know the lyrics to every song. She loved Bruno Mars. When they were driving and a song she came on the radio, she'd say, "Mommy, turn it up." Okay, but after about a month, Geanna started having tantrums. So she moved in Texas, was great for a month. As she probably started feeling more comfortable there, she probably started feeling more comfortable sharing her innermost thought process, okay, and would get upset and okay, all those things that happen. Uh-oh, cat mama might lose her internet. Will do. Stay safe. Stay safe. Um, so after about a month, Gianna started having tantrums. It usually started when she wet her pants. Now, this article does not make this connection. I'm the one making this connection. I find it interesting that she also told her dad about Brandy Blas, quote unquote, beating her when she had an accident and peed in the car. And now she's having tantrums when she wets her pants. That's showing some level of connection there. Or maybe she wanted to have her hair done a certain way, but there was no time for it before she had to go to school. Though clearly and this is the reason why they wanted the educational, okay, assessment. Though clearly intelligent, she also seemed to be behind educationally. This was after a year with the Blosses. Okay, she could recite the letters of the alphabet, but she could not recognize them. Now, I'm not a teacher. I can't say whether or not that makes sense or not. I don't even have kids. I can't even say that. But that's why her auntie wanted to have her get an educational assessment, was to see this girl's really smart, but for as smart as she doesn't seem to have the book side of it. Okay, so was she kept away from school for a while or whatever? Um, is she acting out against the foster parents? Yeah. She probably thought something bad was going to happen when she needed to go to the restroom. Right. Okay, she would have her accident and she was so scared that she was going to get beat or punished or whatever that she reacted with a temper tantrum. Makes sense to me, actually. Gianna still felt a kind of, this is what it's my heart. Gianna still felt a connection to Hawaii, which happens. When you live in Hawaii, you always have that connection. She would recite to Hauck how to get to the house of Hart, her biological mom. So this is in Texas, a year after she's lived with the Blosses, and she still remembers how to get from one location to her biological mom's house. I mean, that shows something, that love, that connection she had with her mom, which you can see in all these pictures, the connection with her mom, the connection with her dad. She referred to her parents in Hawaii as her white mommy and black daddy. In Houston, she had a black mommy and white daddy. So, I mean, so cute, so just so innocent and cute and sweet. She taught Hauck Hawaiian words. Sometimes after a tantrum, she would tell Hauck that she was pow. For those of you who don't know, the word pow is I'm done. Okay. If you're done with your homework, oh pal. Okay, you're done eating dinner. I'm oh pal. So what she's that's saying is that she would have had a tantrum and she knew, okay, I'm done with it. Okay, I'm pal. I'm pal. Her telling her auntie and uncle, I'm done. I'm not gonna, no more tantrum. I'm done. And so Brandy Bloss would sometimes, and this does get interesting here. Um, oh, please pronounce pow, pow. Yeah, all pow. And also, I know, try to teach you guys a little Hawaiian at the same, well, pigeon, put it that way, pigeon. There was definitely some communication between the Blosses and her auntie, which I did find interesting. Brandy Bloss would sometimes call to talk to Gianna, but the girl would often run off at that time. Hauck did not make much of that. She thought it was age related, and it could honestly be age related. Hi, bye, and run the other direction or something. But we don't know. Could it also be that she didn't want to talk to her? We don't know. Okay. She definitely seemed to talk about how to get to her mom's house. So interesting there. She wanted to play. She never vocalized anything bad to me. And that is interesting. Okay, could that be that she just wasn't comfortable sharing quite yet? She was only there about 4 or so months, so it could have been that too. But Hauck did have one conversation about her treatment in foster care. Guys, this one is chilling. She said that Thomas Blas had told her that the girl's tantrums were so bad that during a birthday party for one of his biological children, he spanked her and spent the whole party holding her down in a car. When I read that, I'm sitting here looking in my head. This is at that time what, a 3-year-old child? Okay. So she had a tantrum at his biological child's birthday party. And his response to dealing with that tantrum, and I'm not saying spanking is wrong. Okay, trust me, I'm not saying that. Okay, within limits also. Okay, but some people, okay, that's how they do it. Fine. But between spanking her and then holding her down in a car, okay, not just 5 minutes, but literally a whole party holding her down, physically holding her down, not just saying, no, you're not going to that party. If you're going to act that way, we're going to sit here in this car. We're going to sit in timeout. He held her down that whole time. And with what else that we have found out since then about how they treated her as she got older, I wouldn't be surprised. This actually makes a lot of sense. And I think this is also what we were seeing probably with the her stepbrother, her hanai brother, the adopted brother. And so a sudden removal. Hauck wanted to get to the bottom of what was causing the tantrums. She said she tried unsuccessfully to get Gianna's counselor in Hawaii, who she believed had done a better job than the one in Texas. Okay, so I misunderstood that. It's actually the counselor was better. Okay, that makes sense. And that does, because she did say the Texas counselor just, she felt was doing just the rudimentary type stuff. So it sounds like what she was trying to do was get the information from the Hawaii counselor. She was seeing a counselor in Hawaii. So again, and we know she saw a counselor after. How did no one catch what was going on with her? Okay, she was trying to get the case notes. I didn't have all the history that I thought was necessary, and she was adopting this child. And then came her request for a higher level of intervention, and what she described as Texas's sudden decision to send Geanna back to Hawaii. Gianna's biological family believes the Texas department, which had agreed to oversee the case, simply didn't want to spend the money on a complicated case. They would have been responsible. This does not say it here, but my suspicion is, as CPS, they would have been responsible for any bills for a psychiatrist as compared to a therapist. Lot more money. Okay, so that does make some level of sense to me. The Texas Department of Family and Protective Services did not respond to a question about what prompted the move, nor did the Hawaii Department of Human Services. So neither side is responding to anyone anymore about this. Now, my problem comes down to this. If the only reason why in my head it would make sense for Geanna to be pulled out of Texas and sent back to Hawaii would be if her family that she was staying with was abusive or not a good fit for her or something like that. I can't think. If you guys can help me with this in chat, if you can think of another reason that would make sense, please share with me. But that's all I can think of. And yet, we don't hear about an investigation. Okay. Texas CPS popping up and saying, okay, I need to go and research and find out, okay, what's going on. We're not hearing about any investigations. What we're hearing about is more or less a knee-jerk response saying, oh, you want to see a therapist? Okay, Here we go. Let me contact Hawaii. You know what? You need to have Hawaii moved over to this other location. You need to have Geanna back to you guys in 3 days. That's literally what I'm thinking is happening. Click and go. Thank you. Thank you so much. And for those of you who have casas near you, I'm gonna let, just so you guys know, if you're okay with this, I'm gonna let both her mom and her dad know about that click and go. Thank you for doing that, my dear. And I doubt the foster parents have a clean record. They didn't. They didn't. Not as bad as this angel back here. Okay, not as bad as that case. But it's one of those cases that what was happening behind closed doors didn't matter. And also, Hauck said that she dreaded how Geanna would react to being taken away, but was surprised when it went well. Geanna had a photo album that included photos of her mom, Hart, her biological mom, and still felt connected to her. Hauck said she tried to explain that she would not be returning to her biological mom, but to the Blases. She wanted her to know, and I could see that as a little girl here. Oh, I'm going back to Hawaii. I'm going to go see my mom and dad and all that. I'm sure that is what kind of went through her head. Okay, we'll do sleep well, my dear. And again, thank you so much. Actually, let me do this real quickly. Thank you for this from this sweetheart right here. I don't know why, if you guys are getting here we go. Oh, it's showing blue on my end. I don't know if it's showing blue on your end, but it's showing blue on my end. So, but thank you so much, my dear. At least Hauck thought she'd be able to go back to the people that she knew. And because Brandy did not work outside of the house, maybe she would have time to spend with her to get the various needs taken care of. This is the next part that pisses me off. Okay, is some of what I'm hearing. Okay, grandma wanted to help. Grandma wanted to be there for her granddaughter. In Louisiana, Geanna's grandmother, Ivy Bradley, a registered nurse, so we've got a nurse practitioner and a registered nurse, had strong misgivings about what was happening. Even though there was no physical evidence, I had a feeling she was being abused in that house. The grandmother said she asked, could I take the girl? Other relatives were also willing to take Geanna. Quote, they told me no, she has to return to Hawaii, she said. They didn't say why. I just burst into tears. This is what I think we need to look at on a federal level, guys. This is 2 cases here again, okay? 2 cases of a child who's had family members willing to take that child, but they were told they could not take that child because they did not live in the right place. Okay, there should be no reason on earth a child cannot go and live with a family member if that family is in the right shape to take care of. Now, I can understand it maybe for a 3-year-old if grandma is 90 years old or something like that, or okay, maybe I could see some things like that. That's even hard, but okay, maybe. Okay, or if there's cases or issues with possible caregiving or stuff like that. But for a decision to be made because they don't live in the right place? No. JP, exactly. Selective best interest. That's exactly what it is right there. Yeah. The federal, okay, they give, are you going to talk about money and stuff like that? Because I'm just like, there are ways interstate agencies can talk. If I get a patient, and I used to have this, I would get a patient come from the mainland to Hawaii, okay, and they may have been Medicaid, okay, or something like that. And we could have them sign paperwork, okay, to allow one agency to talk to us. Okay, why can that not be put together for children? Are children not worth that? It doesn't make sense. Most states run their own CPS, but they are funded federally. Yep, that's where you were going. Exactly. And that's where I'm sorry, I think the feds need to come in and step in. The feds are giving our taxpayer money to all these states. The feds need to be able to step in now and say, okay, we need systems at a certain level of quality and responsibility back to the people. Plain and simple. The laws can only change at federal level. The problem is the states agreeing with it. The problem is it's actually both in this case. We have federal laws, but we also have state laws because the state programs are governed by state laws. And that's a lot of the problem. We're running into a lot of issues here in Hawaii. And because of how laws are not being followed, number one, and how people right now, one of our biggest thing is we've got people like, well, you know what? Yeah, we need to have rights here, but what about these rights here? What about that? Well, we need to take care of our kids, plain and simple. That's who needs to be taken care of. They need to take money out of the equation, except for medical, and they would weed out people who really want to help foster kids and those who just want a paycheck. Yeah, that's one of the things when I was talking to a 20-something-year-old who was a foster child at one point. That's what she was saying. She was nothing but a paycheck. And that's part of the problem. No child wants to know they're nothing but a paycheck. And so radio silence. Hauck said she tried to maintain contact with Geanna, but the Blasses would not respond. So when she was trying to adopt, she was trying to keep communication going with the Blasses, okay, with other family members, because she knew it was important for Gigi, for Geanna. Yet the moment Geanna goes back to the Blasses shut down all communication. They would not communicate with anyone outside of them. After she complained to the state, she said the caseworker told her the Blasses had told her that Hart got to talk to Geanna all the time. Well, to me, that's a complaint thing. I would be investigating that. Because if you, as a caseworker, are getting a phone call from someone who is trying to adopt a child, a family member, so they still have, family member connections as well as everything else that was happening, and you are being told as a caseworker, I'm trying to call these people and they're not answering my call. They won't talk to me or anything. If you come back saying, well, no, they're telling me that they're talking to you all the time, someone's lying. Who's lying? That's your job as the caseworker to figure out who's lying. That means you need to do an investigation into something like that. So there should be at least some level of an investigation on that level. Eventually, she said Thomas Blas told her that Geanna didn't want to talk to her. Did the caseworker ever ask Geanna, would you like to talk to your auntie? I'd love to know the answer to that. After she complained to didn't want, he said that Geanna was fine and told him she didn't like Hauck or the husband. So we're starting to see where the Blasses are pulling and isolating Geanna from the rest of the world. And that's what they did. By the end, she's not going to school. Okay, she's spending most of her time locked in a room on her own. And why didn't they show proof of the calls or not? Yeah, it's not that hard to do. This was in the 2000s. They could go back to their phone and show proof. They can go and ask Geanna, hey, Geanna, why didn't you like your auntie? First of all, to me, as a caseworker, I would be worried at that point, was this child hurt? And I'm not saying this is what happened, but this is what I'd be thinking in my head. I need to make sure there's not a reason why this child doesn't want to talk to her auntie. Did something else see? You've got to be looking at cases from the point, okay, what's going on? Why is this child acting this way? And I'm not saying there was anything there. Okay, in fact, I think if they had looked into it, they would probably have found out back then that Geanna was being isolated at that point. Let me see here. That's when I really got concerned, Ivy said. She recalls, so grandma, she recalls telling her daughter something's not right. It's a feeling I have with no evidence. Meanwhile, Jeremy Bradley, now out of jail, he did his time. Okay, he's out of jail. Okay, could not get information on his daughter. His parental rights had been severed and he had no standing. Again, he gave up his rights hoping that his daughter would be adopted by her auntie. And then when that fell apart, he lost all that. The Blasses and Gerons are accused of keeping, okay, and this gives you some idea of what happened with her. They are accused of keeping Geanna in a tiny area where she had only a box to sleep on. They bound her with duct tape. When they bound her, she would be bound with her arms to her body like this, with duct tape around her body. They would put a bag over her face or a mask over her face and duct tape all up in this area. Thank God they didn't do what was done to Ariel, which was duct tape around this area. But in the end, both lost their lives. They beat her, authorities said. She died from trauma, beatings, prolonged physical restraint, pneumonia, medical neglect, according to the Honolulu ME. When a certified child abuse, a physician certified in child abuse, started looking at the 3-year-old that lived with this family that was also, adopted, was adopted in this case, they found him in such a bad shape that he had him admitted into the hospital to ensure he was getting care. Ivy Bradley said she had a bad feeling when her son called one early evening in February. I looked at my phone and I just felt something was wrong, she said. He kept trying to get it out. When I realized what he was saying, it was like, Lord, all this time, what was in my spirit was true. It's been hard. That's the end of the article. This is what gets me so much. And those of you who've stayed with us the whole time on this one, and I mean, if you guys want me, I could go back and we can read part of what happened to her, or you guys can go back and watch one of my earlier videos too. We're starting to get the full story. We can't find all this stuff out from the state sharing it out or doing an investigation into a wrongful death. Because anytime a child dies under the care of anyone, but especially the state, there's something we need to look at, whether it's a medical issue, whether it's something else, in this case, abuse. There should be an investigation done into it. But that's nothing we can see happening with that. No one's doing that. So it's up to the family to have to relive all this. The family who, her auntie, who's literally like, oh my God, what if I had just never insisted on seeing that psychiatrist? What if I had just let it go the way it was? Would she still be with us now? She shouldn't have to have those thoughts, but I'm sure that's what's in her head. It's so sickening. And then you have, actually, let me pull this up just to share this part with you, because when I was going to do this case today, I wanted an update. I wanted to find out, well, let's see if my computer will behave with me. It's taking a little bit to pull it up, maybe. Well, if not, I'll just tell you guys what happened with it. If I can't pull it, yeah, not responding. 1 second, let me see if I can get this to work here. Okay, let's see. I want to read to you what I got from the, there we go. Geanna Bradley, here we go. Let me just have it pull up real quick. Whoopsie. Okay. That's why. Good old Ad Blocker Plus decided it wanted to give me an update. So let me share this with you. So I today decided to go through and find out um, what news has, because we're supposed to actually be having a trial starting in April. No way that is going to happen in April. I mean, we are waiting 3.5 years later for the trial for Ariel. There's no way this is going to be happening in this case anytime soon. And however, let me try to get this made bigger. I can't do that. It doesn't want to do it. So let's just do it this way. Okay. I went in and was trying to find out what has happened in the last couple days. Did I miss anything? And I found out that Brandy Blas has decided she deserves bail. She's been denied bail already, but we're going to push for that a little bit more now. So this was actually filed yesterday or today, March 22nd. Has not been heard yet. I will let you know what comes of it when it is heard. And but basically what they are saying is the trial is scheduled for April 22nd. And with discovery materials still being provided by the state and continued investigation being conducted by the defense, it is likely that a continuance of the trial date will be needed and will be respectfully requested of the court. So we now know they are going to definitely be asking for a continuance. Accordingly, it is uncertain when Mrs. Blas or Miss Blas will be able to exercise her constitutional right to a jury trial. Because she's aware of various conditions that the court could impose on her on release, they want everyone to know we're fine with anything you want to do if you release her. Okay, I mean, electronic monitoring, whatever you need to do, we're totally fine with that. She's 36 years old, lived in Hawaii. I'll never try to run away or anything like that. So please reconsider giving her bail. Okay, not to exceed $100,000 though, please. Not to, yeah, please, nothing over that. And then they do go in there and they do provide some stuff about bail and what is considered a fair bail amount and stuff like that. I mean, I can share this with anyone who wants it. Just let me know if you want that. Um, I was surprised with this. I personally expected to see one of the comments here addressing the fact that she's pregnant. I know many of, yep, right there, Seal. They'd never get out, and then her baby is taken from her. For those of you who don't know, Brandy is pregnant. Brandy immediately on being entered into jail was jumped by people. I do have to say, guys, you guys know me. Um, the baby should have been protected a bit more. This is just me. Okay. Knowing that this case is so hated, these people are not well liked right now, that they were going to have a very high chance of being jumped. She probably should have been put in protective custody, and they weren't. She was beat up and ended up spending a couple days in the hospital. And considering the fact that I don't give a shit about her, but I do feel that her baby does not need to be put at risk. But on the same level, she does not need to get out to get medical care. Okay, we have a great medical care system in Hawaii. Hawaii's healthcare system is one of the systems that back when Clinton was looking at, they were trying to copy Hawaii's. Okay, she does not need special treatment or anything like that. I'm sorry. That's all there is to it. And yes, I agree. I hope that they are up on actually here, for those of you who did not get to hear the whole actually let me bring this up so you guys can actually see the litany of counts. So counts 1 and 2 are murder in the second degree. Then 3 and 4 are kidnapping. 5, 6, and 7 are the conspiracy to commit kidnapping. 8, sorry, I've got a phone call coming in. 8, 9, unlawful imprisonment in the first degree. 10, 11, 12, conspiracy to commit unlawful imprisonment in the first degree. 13 and 14, endangering the welfare of a minor in the first degree. 15 and 16, hindering prosecution in the first degree. 17, endangering the welfare of a minor in the second degree. And then 18 and 19, persistent non-support. So those are all the things. Murderers should not get bail. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, the Kaluas have not gotten bail. By the way, Seal, Sleuth, not sure if you saw, but I did not pay to download the paperwork on it, but it looks like Isaac filed for something related to bail today. I noticed it. I did not have time to go, and I'm not sure. You know, Hawaii, anytime you try to get this paperwork, you got to pay $3 minimum. And also, but they are now trying to, Isaac's trying to do something again with bail. I mean, literally just a few weeks ago, he tried it. He's trying it again. So Joy is out of here. Goodbye, my dear. Take care, my dear. Sleep well. And also, so we'll see what happens. But those are all the, that's everything. Ah, good. Now we can pull this up. And so that's all the update with the article. John is amazing. Okay, what he's done and how he speaks up for the children here in Hawaii is amazing. He is a superhero for them. He is a superhero for all of these kids who need to have someone speak up for them. And all. So I do want to say thank you guys so much for today. PJ, thank you for the donation earlier today. And Sleuth Mom, thank you for giving Cat Mama that membership. And this little puppy come back in here with a plate. I don't know how the plate ended up here. So we're going to go. Yes, we are going to go so I can go help Mom clean up the mess that the washing machine overflowing made. So hope all you guys have an awesome, awesome evening, and I will talk to you later. Aloha, mahalo, and if I can find this, talk to ya. Bye-bye.